This meeting is for 1 hour and 30 minutes. Ali H will be sharing on my alcoholism and depression for 50 minutes. Ali, it is an honour and a privilege to have you with us today at God's meeting. I would like to take a moment to thank you for acting as a spiritual advisor for the Broken Elevator. Over the past 2 years, Tamara and I have reached out to you for counsel on several occasions, and you've always been present and available to help us. Thank you for your willingness to be of service and for being a bright light in Alcoholics Anonymous. I will now turn the meeting over to Kuna, who will introduce our speaker. Thanks, Kuna.
I'm an alcoholic. My name is Kuna. I don't want to take much of the time about talking about Ali. It's about the program and the service and being examples. Ali is here. Please help me give a warm welcome to Ali H from Toronto, Canada. His home group is Fellowship of the Spirit. And over to you, Ali. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kuna, brother. Nice to see you, man, for the beautiful introduction. Thank you, Mal and Tamara and an entire group for your amazing service and for your invitation. I just, you know, I found that water finds its own level all the time, and God meets me exactly where I am all the time. The big book meets me exactly where I am all the time. You guys have met me with your loving kindness exactly where I am all the time. And I've found from when someone is seeking, like their heart, the motive is to seek and to be a better person. Just been my experience, God gives me assignments to do at the time. Because life, throughout this process, throughout this program, because of this program, because of you beautiful people, life stopped happening to me a while ago. Life happens for me now, for me to grow closer to God, for me to be a better messenger, for me to be a better human being, just a little bit better yesterday than I was today. And when I answer the call of the Spirit, when I do God's work to the best of my ability, when I do the assignment that He's given to me in front of me, what I experience is bliss. What I experience is peace. Now, I know that this group of people that put this movement together, the Broken Elevator, I know that you guys are answering the call of the Spirit. And I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for everything you've done for the last 3 years. It's a beautiful thing, isn't it? When the Spirit calls and we all gather to rejoice, it's a beautiful thing. So I want to thank you first and foremost for everything that you've done and everything that you're doing. When Tamara asked me, thank you for the re-invite. When Tamara asked me for a topic, I prayed on it, and it came to me very strongly: alcoholism and depression. You know, I don't think it's talked about enough in Alcoholics, and I'm sure maybe I don't hear it enough. You know, maybe it is. And I think sometimes, you know, when I don't know about you guys, but me, this is how it used to be anyways, because when my life transformed to such a degree, and I just wanted to share the goodness all the time, you know, from a good motive, right? But I think that's doing Alcoholics Anonymous a disservice, the way I was doing it. Because what I was doing is that I was hiding the brokenness. I believe God shines through the cracks. I believe that's what makes us useful to each other. So this topic of alcoholism and depression is near and dear to my heart because I have tremendous experience with it. You know what I mean? I remember hearing Sandy Beach. God bless his soul, what a giant he was. And not in person, but like one of his recordings many years ago, and he touched on this topic. And I think from what I remember, he said something that really was true for me. I could relate to, you know. He said from his experience, I hope I'm getting it right. From his experience, generally speaking, there's 2 types of depression that he's seen in Alcoholics Anonymous, you know. One is clinical depression and one is spiritual depression, you know. So I want to make sure to also put a footnote here before this talk that we are not doctors. Sometimes depression is caused partially or wholly by chemical imbalances, or I don't understand the biology behind it, right? But sometimes we need to go see psychiatrists and therapists. I did. They take some antidepressant for a while. I did. For a while, I was against that, you know, because I thought I would hear things from some people, again, meaning well, just ignorant, right? That you're not sober if you're taking antidepressants. I don't agree with that. What I believe is that it's only one person to a coffin. We are not doctors. We are not doctors, you know, because those pills really literally saved my life for a period of time when I was going to kill myself. Now, I just want to say that up front, because if God is everything, see, if God is everything, then everything, when I'm in this path and I'm seeking, trying to try a clean house, trust God and help others to the best of my ability, and if the message comes that I got to go see a therapist, then that's God's message to me. If God is everything, God can't just be in the exercise of the 12 steps as a homework assignment. The 12 steps, what they are a treasure map. They're not the treasure, they're a treasure map in which my heart opens up, my soul opens up, my point of view just expands to God's message for me and assignments for me. So I want to make sure to say that. Now, I don't have knowledge, technical knowledge, nor am I a doctor to talk to anybody about the hormonal imbalances of depression. What I'm going to share with you on is what Sandy Beach says, that everybody in Alcoholics Anonymous, to a different degree, suffers from spiritual depression. That's what I'm going to share with you on. Spiritual depression is a sense of separation from source that I suffer from for years. Spiritual depression is an attachment to results. Why isn't she treating me like that? Why don't they acknowledge me? Why can't I make the amount of money that I want to make? Spiritual depression is this dependence, and this need, this demand for others and for situations to fill me with security, with acknowledgement, with property and prestige, and all the with a sense of well-being. Isn't that crazy? Like, I seek in other broken human beings the holes, the gaps that only God can fill. And I'm wondering why I'm depressed, insensitive, insecure, self-centered. Don't know how to have relationships because everything is about me. Spiritual depression is me playing God. Spiritual depression is me arguing with reality. I want the present moment to be different than what it is. I want you to be different than what you are. Do you know why? One reason and one reason only. So I can be more comfortable in my own skin. Talk about self-centeredness, man. That's what I suffer from. That's what I suffer from. And I was separated from alcohol. Today is my 7-year anniversary. What a beautiful gift that is, that I get to come and share a little bit about my experience of being broken and God doing what God does with a mess like me, you know. But I want to share with you that I was separated from alcohol January the 4th of 2012. I've been in the middle of the circle and triangle. I haven't had a drink. I haven't left you guys deep in this program. But what happened to me was that after I was set on fire for the first few years, this disease of alcoholism started to talk to me, and it started to tell me, it started to lull me into a sleep, into a delusion that this path and this life is about looking good and sounding good. So I stopped sharing myself honestly with you guys. I stopped sharing with you that the embarrassment that I had, how much of a fraud I felt like when my walk and my talk was starting to diverge from each other. They were just going separate directions. I stopped sharing with you guys that if you would have followed me with a candid camera, you would have said this guy has some transformations, but this guy must be drinking the way I was behaving at home. Running to fridges with my head open and punching pictures on the wall, sponsoring people, praying, meditating, feeling like a fraud. I stopped sharing with you when depression would come for a visit and I couldn't get out of bed. I would tell you that I'm not sharing those things at meetings because you know why? Because the newcomer needs to know that this program works. What a lie. What a farce that is. The only reason I stopped sharing that with you guys is because I don't want to look bad. And alcoholism, cunning, baffling, and powerful, waits patiently, doesn't come as a drink anymore, comes from the back door, sat on my shoulders on September the 7th of 2016, coming up to 5 years, and told me that I never had a problem with pills. Go take a couple of those pills that your wife has been prescribed. She went to surgery, AFC did, minor surgery, and I took a couple. And the next morning, thank God for good sponsorship and an ounce of humility, I renewed my dry date, you know? I haven't left you guys, but what an experience that was. What a humbling experience that was, to have to call every one of your sponsors and tell them, you know what, I haven't drank, I'm in the program, I took a couple of Percocets last night, I'm going to ask you to find someone else because I don't know what's going to happen to me. You may be in danger. Direction was given, I did it. I didn't want to, I was embarrassed. What a humbling experience that is, that I have to call speaking engagement after speaking engagement, let them know, you know what, this what's happened. If I can't come and speak for you, because I don't know what's going to happen to me. And then when a couple of them would say, Ali, don't worry about it. It's just a couple of pills. We know who you are. We give a great message. Come and speak for us. The words would come out of my mouth that, thank you for your kindness, but I don't want to die. Because my walk and my talk have been going opposite directions for years in Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't want to die anymore. If I don't close that loophole, if I'm not honest with you guys, if I don't renew this dry day, you know what's going to happen to me? I'm going to go out drinking and dying. I don't want to die anymore. I'm tired of me. I'm tired of this depression. I hear walk and talk have to parallel each other so I don't feel like a fraud. I want to try that for a little while. If you're one of those broken souls, you're one of those kindred spirits that has suffered from depression like I have in recovery and in childhood, I got to tell you, you're in good company. One of our co-founders, Bill Wilson, he suffered from depression greatly. Man, what a cross he carried for all of us. Imagine being one of the co-founders. Everyone puts you on a pedestal over here, feeling like you're like a fraud. People accusing you of not working the steps hard enough. These are all things that I've read, you know? Imagine the burden. See, Bill walked this walk so he can share his experience with me, someone like me, 87 plus years later, so I can have a toolkit, so I can have a way out, so I can have some light. God carries his water in broken pots. I'm a cracked toy. And that brokenness has become my biggest asset because God's light shines through that. Bill Wilson was broken. See, God's light shined through that. In his letter to emotional sobriety, in his letter about emotional sobriety, he talks about depression at length. In the book, Soul of Sponsorship, if you haven't gotten it, beautiful book. Letters between Bill Wilson and Father Ed Dowling, his spiritual advisor. And if you allow me, please, if you indulge me, I just want to read a page and a half from that Soul Sponsorship. The letters that Bill Wilson wrote between him and Dr. Ed Dowling and some of the other alcoholics. I think it'll set the table for the rest of this talk as I try to pour my heart out here, as I try to disrobe in front of you here. So please forgive me. I myself don't like it when people start reading it when we're talking, but please forgive me, okay? Hold on, let me put these glasses on here. It's such a beautiful, beautiful book. If you ever get a chance, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. If you're suffering from depression, this is Bill's message to you. In one letter to an AA member, he wrote, I am beginning to see that all my troubles have their root in a habitual and absolute dependence upon my personal prestige, security, and romantic attachment. When these things go wrong, there is depression. Now, this absolute dependence upon people and situations for emotional security, I think, the immense and devastating fallacy that makes us miserable. This craving for such dependencies, this utter dependence upon people and situations can only lead to conflict, both on the surface and at depth. We are making demands on circumstances and people that are bound to fail us. The only safe and sure channel of absolute dependence is upon God himself. Bill came to see that facing his dependency issues meant becoming free from depression. He wrote on April 6, 1953 to Gladys, England. This is the last letter. The central curative idea that was that I didn't have to be dependent in any absolute sense upon any particular person, group, or of persons, or set of circumstances to be a whole person, a going human concern. I realized that the basic defect of my life has been a craving to depend absolutely upon the instinctual rewards of a place in society, material emotional security, also the right romance. Consciously and unconsciously, I had always demanded these things as a condition of happiness. The only absolute that we can depend on is God's love. When I became willing to let go of demands and substitute for them an outgoing love as best I could show it, just as one would in a 12-step case, to that extent, I became liberated, and to that extent that I received the gifts of proper instinctual satisfaction. This is what I have been pondering most of late. And when I realized it and felt the truth of it and became more willing to practice love in this matter, my brief depression came to an abrupt end. The skies cleared for me as never before. Man, this poor guy, writing the 12 and 12, the traditions in the 12 and 12, his secretary writes in this book, he would stop and he would weep uncontrollably, the depression he went through. If that depression can be lifted by God and these steps as a way of life, and depending on God's love rather than other people, and giving love to other people, like St. Francis would have us, not perfectly in a path of progress, man, it could do anything. I think that's what I want to share my story on my experiences on dependency. You know, my experience of being free of me. Ever since I was a kid, I remember suffering from depression. Ever since I was a kid, I remember depending, needing approval from others, love from extended family members. When I was able to put some money in my pocket, a job, a relationship or two. Just need, give me, fill me. I blame my father's addicted beatings. I blame the bombing. I blame the molestation of those two 15-year-old kids at the age of 7. For the way I am, for my drinking, for my alcoholism. I found alcohol at the age of 16, and it filled that God's high school to such a degree. It filled that everything started to make sense. It was a panacea to all my ills, Dr. Bob talks about it in one of his stories, you know? And I chased that feeling of love and peace and joy to the gates of insanity and death. This depression followed me from childhood into adulthood, into drinking. Drinking gave it relief for a while, then it made it worse. This disease took me to many suicide attempts. I'm talking about slash wrist suicide attempts. I'm talking about bottles of sleeping pills suicide attempts. Hose and exhaust of a car in my mouth suicide attempts. And after every single suicide attempt, after every single slash wrist, after every single psych ward visit, after every single charcoal drink they make you drink in those psych wards, I find myself promising, crying, one of my loved ones, usually my poor mom, that I'm never going to do this to you again, Ma. 2 or 3 days later, this disease, cunning, baffling, and powerful, a drink would fix that. That suicide attempt, it was just a phase, you know? It was just a phase. But for the grace of a loving God, I found you guys. I fell in love with you guys. For 7 years, I was in and out. Continued attachments, continued dependency. Continuously looking for the outside to fill this inside hole. Living my life, excuse my language, ass backwards. Dressing up the monkey so I would feel better. You taught me a different way. You told me it's inside out, Ali. My last drunk wasn't as bad as the many before then. I had been back in Alcoholics Anonymous, really active, man, like a meeting or 2 or 3 a day because I wasn't working. I was in a men's recovery home, but no steps, right? Went and drank, came back one day, passed out, came to an incredible amount of pain, wanting to kill myself and wanting to drink. My knees got bent, my mouth opened up. I beg this power. I don't know who you are. I don't even know if you are. God, can you just please help me not be like this anymore because I'm tired, man. And I watched him shine his light on me, caress me, bring me back to the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. From that prayer, the thought of drink was taken away, and I haven't attempted suicide since then. He put a teacher in my path. This teacher opened the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous with me, this beautiful spiritual path that you guys taught me. And we started to go through it line by line, follow the black on the white. And as a result of these steps, I woke up. As a result of these steps, this way of life, I was set on fire. I started to become free. A freedom that was just foreign to me. You know what I mean? Like when you're in complete darkness, and then the light shines and somebody goes and turns on the light, like it's beautiful because it's incredible because I start to see colors and people and situations for what they were. I start to see that every situation that I'm complaining about, it's been me. I start to become free, right? But also the light is blinding. I don't know what to do with it. It hurts my eyes. And then my journey continued. The drink was taken away. Set aside the drink question, right? Path of progress. My attachments to results continued. I remember Afsi and I was How long was I sober? I can't remember. A couple of years sober. Darius was 6 months old. Yeah, Darius was 6 months old. I can't remember how many years I was sober. My son, who's 9 years old right now, he was 6 months old. And Ashley and I were fighting over the bills, and I couldn't find a job to help support the family, all that kind of stuff. You know, her and I were just going at it. My relationship, like if you would have looked at it, was the best way to describe it is bipolar. Like extreme love and extreme chaos. You know, nothing in the middle. Romantic love, selfish love, self-centered love, drowning in self kind of love. The only love that I know how to do, take hostage kind of love. Anyways, her and I fighting, and and the depression is coming because I feel like I'm not a man. I feel like I'm a fraud in recovery, sponsoring people. Now, please, I just want you to, if you're new, like extreme, like incredible many periods of happiness and joy along this as well. I'm just trying to highlight the pain and the depression for you. You know, I don't want to give the wrong idea. One time I was I couldn't get out of bed for about a week or two. You know, it was very difficult. I would just sleep, and then wake up when I had to go to the bathroom. Wake up when I was starving, eat all I could, and just go back to sleep. And Ashley never suffered from depression, right? She didn't know what was going on. She thought I was taking advantage. I didn't want to work, but I did. I just couldn't get out of bed, you know? So she would start yelling and screaming because she didn't know. She was afraid, you know? I remember one time I went down to the basement. I didn't want to be around my son, my 6-year-old son, and I knew I was in trouble when that happened. I knew that the planning stage is going to come. I've tried suicide so many times in the past. I knew the planning is coming. Because if I don't want to be around my son, all of a sudden I got down on my knees and I started to pray, God, can you please help me? I don't know what to do. All of a sudden I get a surge of energy. I get in the car, I start to drive myself to the hospital, to the emergency room. Sponsoring people, prayer and meditating, man. Broken. That's the cross I've had to bear. I'm sharing it with you because it's gone, man. The last few years, it has disappeared. I'm sharing with you to show you how God works. When I stop making it wrong, half the battle is I make my experiences wrong. I think this life and spiritual life is about feeling good. Half the battle, half the bondage is me disagreeing with the experience that's happening. In this emergency room, they had a critical care team, psych ward team visit me, and they introduced me to a psychiatrist, to the therapist. They put me on these pills. Thank God for those pills because they saved me for a period of time. The suicide thoughts didn't come. I started to function in life a little bit more, right? And these pills that start to save me, they start to become a prison. They stop working. They start to go the other way now. I couldn't even like with them. I was depressed. If I didn't take them, I was devastated. You know what I mean? It was like a prison. I don't know what to do. Throughout this whole thing, clean house, trust God, help others. Clean house, trust God, help others. What you're telling me, talking with my sponsor, what a gentle man, loving man he is. Talking with my friend Teresa, what a loving soul she is. By the way, Rumi says when setting out on a journey, don't seek advice from those who haven't left home. I've had to learn that. Don't share this personal thing with just anybody. They mean well, but if they haven't suffered from depression, they're going to give you advice that's going to hurt you. I'm so grateful for all the teachers around me because they've been kind with me. You guys tell me that we don't shoot the wounded here, you know? Trust God, clean house, help others. I start to see that, man, God started to send me, so I with the help of my doctor, I started to get off of these pills around the summertime it was, right? And I started to address other areas of life as well, like physical health and nutrition, all that kind of stuff. And I dove deeper into the program. Trust God, clean house, help others. I started to see that God is sending me men that suffer from depression. And I start to see what he is doing with this depression. See, because if I wasn't suffering from the depression, if I wasn't humbled by pain, when these men were coming to me, I wouldn't be able to have the compassion that I had for them. Because a lot of times what this ego has told me, when I'm feeling good in this program. My ego is getting what it wants, and I'm just having amazing spiritual experiences. When God would send me men, or my sponsees was complaining about the same thing all the time, I will find myself judgmental of them, a little bit cruel, not outwardly, but the energy of it, you know. But thank God for that depression. Man, God makes depression. God makes gold out of the brokenness. Because I got to share myself, where I was and what I'm doing. And we both got, both of us on these phone calls, we start to be lifted. I stopped making it wrong. Why not me? Why not me? Why not me? What was the deal in the third step? God, I'm going to stay close to you. Do your work well. You take care of the details of my life. What was the third step prayer that I made? God, you do with me whatever you want. All of it. Build with me, do with me what you want. Take away my difficulty, but relieve me of the bondage of self. Take away my difficulties. Why? So I can be I don't know, jump for joy, be a rich businessman. So I can be in a happy marriage all the time. So I can be a circus speaker. No. You build with me, you do with me whatever you want, because I'm going to promise you that I'm going to take you, I'm going to try to help your kids. And as you take away my difficulties, I will bear witness to your love, to your power, to your way of life. Man, this depression served a purpose. Man, it made me a better person. Gold, man. See, the treasures are always found in the ruins. My treasures have always been found in the ruins, in the darkness. Every single time. I think I'm being buried. God shows me that I'm being planted. Every single time. I think I can't take this darkness anymore. Man, I'm dying. This is a coffin. This is a tomb. God shows me, nah, man, this is the darkness of the womb. You're being reborn. Every single time. So many examples of this. So many examples of this. Man, I think what I always like to share, like my experience has been pretty deep for me in these two areas of life where I had tremendous attachments to, which is one is romantic relationships and one is finances. My wife, my attachment to my wife, my need for her to fill me like only God can. Ever since I was a teenager, I was never Don Juan. I always thought I was ugly on the outside and inside, and I probably was, you know? I always had short-term relationships. Everyone always left me, rightfully so. I would take emotional hostages. Ashley and I got together pretty early on in my recovery. I already told you a little bit about how the marriage was going at times, right? Early recovery, bipolar. It got to a point where a few years ago, I was sure that she's a problem. She's cruel. She doesn't treat me right. She's money hungry. She's shallow. She takes advantage. I left home. We got separated. We almost got divorced. I went and rented a room in a house close to our house. Continue to clean house, trust God, help others, doing the best that I can. And I found myself in that room towards the end of that year, in the same place, spiritually speaking, as I was when I first got separated from alcohol many years earlier. Crying. The thought came, why don't you kill yourself? And then the next thought came, why don't you take a drink? Sober now. And a prayer came out of me. God, whoever you are. No, this prayer was different. Sorry. It was, God, I know who you are. I have ample evidence of you in my life now. Can you just please help me not be like this anymore? Because I don't know what to do. I'm destroying my life sober. You know? All of a sudden, the thought came to call somebody, another spiritual teacher. And I called this person. And he walked me through a set of steps. He was kind with me, just like my friend Teresa was, just like my sponsor Butch was throughout this whole time. And I woke up. I finally got detached from being married. One of my sources of depression is an attachment to this romantic relationships for someone else to fill me. How unrealistic, how unfair to put that on somebody. I got detached from being married. Well, I don't mean I didn't want to be married anymore. I mean, like, I didn't need it like I need oxygen, you know? And I saw that everything that I'm accusing Ashley of, I'm doing myself. I've been doing. I've been cruel. I've been hurtful. I've been taken advantage. Everything. I want her to coddle me for the depression that I feel, but I don't want her to give the dignity and the respect to allow her space to heal from the anxiety that she feels. Because I don't know what love is. To me, understanding of love is verbal and feeling. I woke up that that's not the case. Love is an action. With the help of my sponsor, we start to practice principles in a marriage that wasn't working, you know? For about 8 months or so. I just wanted to love on her. I just wanted to be a good dad and co-parent. And then COVID hit a few years ago. So for 8 months, we're good, separated. COVID hit, and at the beginning, we thought we're all going to die, right? So she said, Ali, why don't you come back home? Because we may, you know, who knows how long we're going to live. And I came back home, we fell in love. A deep love, a spiritual love. That's not dependent on the other person. That doesn't put unreasonable expectations on the other person, for the most part, on most days. A spiritual love. That means God has to be in the middle of this thing. That means God has got to be everything, or else we're nothing. And this marriage is nothing. And I usually make it nothing. I got detached from being married. I started to really get present to that my role in this life, in this marriage, is not to get, is to give. See to it that your relationship with him is right. I have to continue to cultivate and deepen a relationship with this loving God, because every relationship that's worth anything in my life comes out of that relationship. My relationship with God informs every other relationship that I have. I can't do it the other way around. What does the big book say? We don't have the dubious luxury of normal men, like the Grouch and the Brainstorm. Well, having normal romantic relationships is a dubious luxury of normal people. I can't do that. I'm way too self-centered, man. I need God in the middle of this thing. Both Asya and I woke up to that. The other big area of life that I always share on when I get a chance was the cause of my depression is finances. This disease got me fast. It got me early. I wasn't a big-time gangster. That wasn't me. And I wasn't a big businessman that lost everything to alcohol and got it back in AA. I had nothing right from the get-go. I was a loser right from the get-go, a leech on society. It got me fast. It got me early. I never got a chance to build anything, you know? So early recovery, Ashley and I meet, we get married. I'm trying to find a job, and I find jobs, but like just paying very little, like 15, 20 bucks an hour, you know? You can barely support yourself as a bachelor, never mind with a family and a kid. I don't have to tell you the noise, the lies that an alcoholic's head tells them. You're a loser. You're not good enough. You're not a real man. You can't support your family. How can you have a kid? How can you be married? The depression that ensues that. I don't have to tell you, because I think to some degree, many of us have experienced something like that to different degrees, right? I remember I was sponsoring a gentleman, beautiful guy he is. He's sober now. I'm not sponsoring him anymore. You know, he had a fencing company. I was working for him, digging holes for the post of fence, being a laborer, hot summer, just working hard, man. Towards the end of the summer, it was a Friday night. I was tears in my eyes. I was cursing God. God, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of fighting with Ashley over the bills. I don't want to do that anymore. What kind of deal is this, man? I'm doing the best that I can. You know, I don't want to feel depressed over these things anymore, finances. All of a sudden, I start to pray. God, can you just please remove this self-centeredness from me, these attachments from me? Show me, who would you have me be? What would you have me do? And I hear the voice of a 60-year-old, I think it was 60-year-old, 60 or 65, John. He was working beside me as a laborer. He was a rich businessman. Like, he had a deck building business. He lost it to a messy divorce. Immediately after that prayer, I hear his voice. Ali, can you please help me? I can't stop drinking, man. I've been wanting to kill myself for the last 2 weeks. I never told them I'm in AA. In conversations, I just told them that I don't drink anymore, you know? My mouth opened up and I heard the words come out. I started to talk about how bad it was, the suicide attempts and the depressions and the hopelessness and the destruction of everything good in life. And I started to talk about you guys, the love you pour into me, the power I found in these rooms. This man is sober today. That man is sober today. See, in that moment, as a result of being detached from results, praying about it, being detached from results, and using that brokenness to send love to one of God's other kids, all of a sudden I had a shift in thinking outlook in life. Where all the have-tos in life became get-tos. I get to come to work. I get to hustle as a laborer. I get to help one of God's kids. You know, I was floated the rest of that summer. I just floated the rest of that summer. And this continued, this up and down with attachments to finances, what it means as a man, it continued. I would have blissful moments of accepting exactly. By the way, throughout this whole thing, clean house, trust God, help others, bills are always paid. Never ended up on the streets. Go figure, right? Clean house, trust God, help others. Finally, I landed a job, many different jobs. Every single job I had, I didn't qualify. Never had education for. Every single time I fall asleep into the delusion that this job, whatever job I was in, is for me to make money, for me to build a bank account. God shows me different. I'm there to help you grow. You're there to serve one of my kids. Finally, I landed my dream job. I've been doing this for the last 2.5 years. Sell windows and doors. So I'm in sales, 100% commission now, right? Making more money than I've ever done in my life, supporting my family properly. I get to dress nicely, happy at work, but it's a 100% commission job. And let me tell you, there's no other job like a 100% commission job to make you realize how much you play God in your life. Like I had to really lean into God to get detached, you know? All of a sudden, a couple of deals that I was waiting for and didn't fall through. I started to fall behind my bills a little bit, you know? All of a sudden, I started to get depressed. It came for a visit. All of a sudden, I can't get out of bed. What happened? What happened? Ample evidence that God's been taking care of everything so long as I clean house, trust God, help others, and stop playing Him. Yet something goes wrong in my life, I'm depressed. I start to play God again. I start to pray before every appointment. I go to people's homes to take measurements to talk about windows and doors. Every appointment, I will park about 30 seconds away in the car. I stop the car. I just start to pray. God, can you just please remove any attachments I have to results here from making money, from making a sale? Can you show me what my assignment is? Whatever it is, I don't know what it is. Can you just help me? Help me be better? All of a sudden, I'm having conversations about people's heart attacks and the alcoholic children, my fears, my past, you know? And bills are always paid. Beautiful thing, eh? So during this time when none of the sales were going through and I was just starting to feel afraid, right? It was Sunday morning. This lady could only meet me Sunday morning, I remember, 8 in the morning. I get out of the car after I'm praying. I walk to her porch. She's holding a coffee cup. Beautiful spirit she had. And we start to talk. I start to talk about doors a little bit. For some reason, the conversation went to her life. She started to tell me that she's a spiritual teacher. She's been teaching yoga and spirituality at a community center for 20 years. And she started to tell me how much she's involved in non-for-profit organization for people with mental health and stuff like that. So I've learned to pray. See, God is everything or else He is nothing. That means everything is a message. Everyone is a messenger. So I've learned to listen and pray at the same time. God, what's a message here for me? What do you want me to do here? I'm listening to it, right? What's going on? I'm confused, right? So that the message came to tell her. So I started to thank her for who she is. I said, thank you so much for what you've been doing. You know, I want to tell you that it's such a beautiful blessing to meet somebody that's been devoted her life into packing into the stream of life the way you have. I want to tell you something. I also suffer from mental health. I've been sober for a few years now. I suffer from depression. So thank you for what you do for society. This lady starts to bawl. She starts to cry uncontrollably right after I said that. She said to me, I'm not going to say it. Are you effing kidding me, Ali? Are you effing kidding me? You know God sent you? Did God send you here today? Do you know with all the spiritual knowledge and experience and yoga teaching that I do, my husband in there has been dying of alcoholism for the last 10 years. I don't know what to do, man. Can you help me? So I opened up my mouth and the words started to come out. I started to tell her, about you guys, about this beautiful program, about the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, about Al-Anon. From that day to this, not once did I suffer from, did I have a depression so bad that I have to sleep and I can't get out of bed. Not one time because of finances. From that day to this. See, I believe God has fed me, spoon-fed me spirituality on a path of progress. He doesn't make two hard turns for a broken soul like me. I don't have to be perfect. But what I do is have to be honest with you. What I do have to be, I have to bare my soul to you. I have to be detached from what you think about me, or else I'm dead in the water. I once again became present to the third step prayer and the deal that I made regarding finances, right? God is the employer. This job is not the employer. My boss not the employer. God's the employer. See to it that your relationship with him is right. See, what I do is this disease is so cunning and baffling. It hypnotizes me into, instead of continuing to build and cultivate a relationship with the ocean of God, it starts to hypnotize me, and I start to worship the little streams that come from the ocean, the little rivers. And you know what happens to me when I start to worship the rivers? I get afraid that they're going to dry out, they're going to run out. What's going to happen to me? You know? And then what you do with your kindness, with your love, you lift my head up, spiritually speaking, metaphorically speaking, and you point it to this ocean again. But you think God's going to run out of money? God's going to run out of abundance, Ali? You just keep doing clean house, trust God, help others. That's none of your business. You know? Clean house, trust God, help others. And this has transformed. Like literally, bit by bit, it just disappeared, this depression. So please, I don't want to give the wrong idea. Like, everybody's different. Everyone has a different path. The point is not that the depression disappearing, and that's not the point. The point is that the process of freedom. The point is that stop making this detachment from results, making it wrong, making the pain wrong. Why is it? That's the point of it. What I'm trying to say, I'm not really conveying what I'm trying to say. It's not coming to me. Oh, here it is. Okay. So the point is that not the destination. There's no destination, depression gone. The joy was in the process. What's the last line on page 164? Road of happy destiny, not too happy destiny. I've been feeling bliss throughout this whole time. You know? At the end of August of 2022, just last year. Clean house, trust God, help others. Continuous detachment. Slowly, God's making me free and freer and freer. Spoon feeding me. I'm sitting in a meditation. Downstairs in a meditation in the basement. All of a sudden, I hear it, like I hear things. Not audibly. The cells in my body scream at me. And I know it. It was so loud. It said to me, this is the last day of your life. How do you want to be remembered? What kind of legacy you want to leave behind? What have you been packing into the stream of life? Man, I didn't really share this with for 4 weeks after that meditation. You know what happened? From the minute I would open up my eyes to the minute I would close my eyes at night, I felt like I was on 4 hits of ecstasy. Like just walking in bliss. And I watch people. As I'm walking by them, people are just smiling and looking at me. The most incredible thing. I've never had that experience before. And it went away. But I had it for 4 weeks. But there's a point to that. See, lasted for about 4 weeks. The most incredible experience. And on September, what was it? Beginning of September, this happened at the end of August, September to 29th. I was at the gym. I was working out. All of a sudden, the tendons that hold my chest muscle to my shoulder, I'm doing bench press. I'm going a little bit too heavy, right? Just pop, they just snapped off. I had a spotter, thank God, he saved my neck from breaking, right? It was the most incredible, excruciating pain. I found myself, the guy who owned the gym, he's like, do you want me to call the ambulance? And I said, no, just, you know what, just, I don't want to cause trouble for your business. And I was sort of embarrassed too, right? Just drive me to the hospital. He was driving me to the hospital the whole time. I'm praying. All of a sudden, so these are not things that I'm doing that are happening to me. I'm trying to sort of explain and demonstrate what God does, right? The old me wanted to milk it, wanted to get an ambulance, wanted to get a morphine shot from them, wanted to sue the person whose gym it was, right? The new me is praying inside the car. He's like, what are you saying to yourself? I kept on praying, God, can you just please use this? Can you just please help me be useful? How can I be helpful? How can I be helpful, God? Can you please remove whatever it is, selfishness that I have to this pain? Help me be helpful. We go into the emergency room. The whole time, I'm worried about him and what's happening to his business. I'm worried about the customers. I'm trying to have him call my customers. This is the most incredible thing. I was speaking for about a month. I couldn't bathe. I couldn't clean myself. I couldn't feed myself. I couldn't work. I'm 100% commission. 4 months I didn't work. Not once did depression follow me. Not once. Not once. Completely detached. How does that happen? How does that happen? Loving God. And you know what he does? He showed me once again, every pain you're going through, I'm going to use it if you trust me to help someone else. So this happened. This is the last thing I'm going to tell you. I'm going to end it here. I feel like it's going too long. This happened on a Thursday, I think it was. I'm speaking at a conference that I have to drive to on a Saturday, right? So on a Thursday it happened, or on a Friday it happened, sorry. I come home from the hospital and realize, oh my God, I'm speaking tomorrow. I called the lady and I canceled it. She understood, right? So the next morning, and I'm in pain. I'm talking about like when I would take the pain medication they gave me, my pain would be at a 4 or 5. When I didn't take it, it was like a 10 or 11, right? So the next morning, I wake up, Afsi and I go sit. She takes my hand. We go in the room to sit for some prayer meditation, and we come out of the meditation, and she opens her eyes. She said, "How was the pain?" There was no pain. I was like, I don't know. There's no pain, baby. So you know what you have to do? I think you got to go to that conference. Well, what do you mean? Well, you got to serve. You know how it is. So I called this lady. I'm like, listen, this is what's happening. Did you find a replacement? She's like, no. Can you make it? Yeah, for sure. So I called around and went, Kuna, what a beautiful man he is. He moved stuff around and he drove me for 3 hours. We went to this conference. Let me tell you, this conference was the most incredible experience that I've had of any conference that I've attended. Not because anything that came out of this mouth, because I watched Kuna. I watched him cut my meal for me and feed it to me. And everyone saw that. Because when I was at the podium speaking, my arms were in a brace like this, and my mouth would get dry. And Kuna was sitting next to me with a water bottle and a big straw. He would bring it up to my mouth every few minutes so I can take a little drink and continue to talk. After the thing, you know, when people thank you graciously, generously, newcomer after newcomer after newcomer after newcomer. I didn't even know what you said, but let me tell you something. I want whatever it is you're tapped into, whatever this program is that has you come in extreme pain after you lost, you know, the ability to move, to come over here and talk about it. I want whatever it is that you guys have. That's what God does. This is what God does. So many examples like that, you know? So many examples like that. Man, I just always feel so, I know it's a disease, but I need to put it on the table. I always feel inadequate during talks. What gives me a little bit of peace is that I share myself honestly with you. So I don't know where this talk went, but I hope it's sort of demonstrated for somebody who may be suffering from depression that God makes gold out of it, man. the valleys in life. All these valleys in life, they serve a purpose. Every single one of them have brought me back to a table with a deeper relationship with God, with a deeper level of surrender to my ideas, to my attachments. And if you allow me, I got a minute left. I just want to end this talk. This came to me. I was meditating before this. This came to me with a beautiful poem from my favorite spiritual teacher, Rumi, who lived 700 years ago. It's called Guest House. If you're in pain today, this is dedicated to you. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows, who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a God from beyond, as a guide from beyond. God bless you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.